we at, you ask? We are at Gold Strike Park down off 56th and Ralston Road. This is where Lewis Ralston discovered 1/3 of an ounce of gold, and it paved the way for the Colorado Gold Rush. On June 22nd, 1850, he only stayed a day and recovered little in the way of gold dust, but his discovery paved the way for one of the largest migrations in the history of the American West. He was no stranger to gold mining when he arrived here in 1850. He had moved from South Carolina to Georgia and married Elizabeth Kell, the granddaughter of Cherokee Chief Benj. Gold was discovered near his land in 1828, and a boom town was born there. It was named Aurora, a Cherokee word meaning gold mine. This 1857 map of the United States shows Colorado as part of Kansas Territory. Colorado did not become a state until 1876. The white line marks the long journey of Ralston's party, starting at Aurora, Georgia, and ending at Sutter's Mill, California. Their route followed both the Santa Fe Trail and Oregon Trail at times. They connected the two trails by blazing the Cherokee Trail from Bent's Fort to Fort Laramie. In the 1850s, the United States was in political turmoil because of the impending Civil War. People didn't have confidence in paper currency. At that time, gold was the most desirable and stable form of money. The first gold found in the United States was in 1828 on land claimed by Cherokees in the state of Georgia. This gold strike was a contributing factor in the forced relocation of the Cherokee tribes from their native land in Georgia to Indian Territory, Oklahoma in 1838. The route followed by the McNair Party of 1850 has been named the Cherokee Trail in honor of the members of the Cherokee tribes and their families who were among the first to travel the area. Sections of the trail may have been established by early fur traders, thus the name Trapper's Trail. The Cherokee Trail extends from Bent's Fort to Laramie. This map dated 1894 shows many towns and settlements not yet established when the trail was pioneered in the mid-1800s. Ralston was known as the man who almost did everything. He almost struck it rich. He almost was part of Colorado history in the finding of gold. But alas, he has Ralston Creek named after him, Ralston Road, all kinds of parks named after him. So that in itself, I think, is telling of the rich history of this land. He returned to Georgia after not finding gold to be with his wife Elizabeth. He joined the Confederate Army for the Civil War. After losing that war, so he was on the wrong side, you know. Maybe that's why he almost struck it rich, or he almost did that or this. But that's okay, because that's history. And that's why we don't forget about history. And we don't forget about where we came from and what we've done, and we learn from our history. But it's really cool to come to a place where Colorado has rich history, where people found gold on this little creek, which this creek used to be wider back in the day, where you could cross it on a ferry, on a paddle ferry, like a bunch of logs stuck together, but still, that's much wider than it is now. So that's pretty cool. Let's move on. Let's go find out more history on little old town of Arvada. And then we're going to broaden our horizons and learn a whole bunch of history about everywhere. Let's go do that, shall we? We shall. If you like history, if you like learning about where we've been and what we have done in our lives way, way back, and now today, I'm going to do lots of historical things, whether it was yesterday or 150 years ago, because that's exciting. I love you. I do. That's why I want to teach you stuff. So let's go. I got too excited. Gotta be careful about that. Here we go. Hey, guess what? My phone didn't break. I dropped it from there to the ground. I used to come to this little park right by my house from 1981 to 1991 and walk my little Schnauzer dog along this creek. Back then, I really didn't realize that Lewis Ralston had found gold on this little creek. Not much is really known about him in his early childhood years. He grew up in Georgia and moved to Cherokee Country in 1825, where he met a man named Benjamin Parks Jr., and they became partners, supplementing horses and cows to the town. The next year, he met a woman of Cherokee descent named Elizabeth Duncan Kell. They settled near a small stream on Cherokee land and became known as Ralston Branch. In 1828, Benjamin, Ralston's partner, found gold in that stream, which led to a steady stream of itself of prospectors to the area by 1830. Ralston established gold mines on his property, but eventually the state of Georgia confiscated everything and began moving the Cherokee people to Oklahoma. This event became known as the Trail of Tears. The Ralston family stayed in Georgia, remaining out of sight for a couple years. In 1848, gold was discovered in California by a crew building a mill for John Sutter. 2 members of that crew were former neighbors of Ralston and sent a letter to inform them of the gold strike. Ralston was one of the first to learn of the California gold rush. He waited 1 more year, and in 1850, he headed west with a Georgian mining group. When they came to the banks of Clear Creek, Lewis Ralston dug out his mining pen and found about $5 worth of gold. There, the creek now became known as Ralston Creek. The party moved on. Not much is known what happened to Lewis Ralston from 1850 to 1853. The census found him once again back in Georgia, and sadly he was no richer for his adventures west. In 1858, the Civil War loomed, and gold miners anticipated finding more gold in underdeveloped land territories. Ralston joined another group to Colorado, returning to Ralston Creek, but after a few months, he returned to Georgia. And then only after that, 20 miles further west on Clear Creek, the Colorado Gold Rush began. In 1863, he joined the Army, and after the war, they moved to western Georgia. After that, not much is really known of his life or his death. Records do show that Ralston and Elizabeth had 15 children. Ralston passed in 1870, and Elizabeth went on to raise their 15 children, eventually moving back to Oklahoma, and she passed in 1897. This is why I love history. To think that people came through this area looking for gold on the creeks, on this little creek here in Ralston Valley. Thank you for coming along with me on my little excursion here through Ralston Valley. Coming soon will be a video on old Arvada, a ghost town, and the cemeteries. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching.